for coming out. Most of you all know me, but I really appreciate everyone coming for this first in a number of years joint meeting between the Friends and the Advisory Board. A couple of things to note, since this the Advisory Board is a public board. We are being recorded, so the camera is over there. If you don't wish to be on camera, I think it's kind of this area.
Yeah, come to this side.
Yeah, that side of the room is so you know, if you're in the witness protection program, that's the side to be on. All right. Also, because the room doesn't have the greatest acoustics, we've got this microphone, so I'll hand it around when we're doing introductions. And if we're having discussion, just make sure to speak as loudly as possible, because it is a challenge sometimes to hear. So we're going to just start with introductions. I'm going to have everyone share their name, their role. We've got a mix of 2 different boards plus museum staff, so your role in one of those. And then, as kind of an icebreaker, just tell the story of your name in a very short time. So I'm Eric Mason, I'm the director of the museum, and my name ends in a K because both of my older brothers, Mark and Kurt, ended in K, and when I came along, they knew they had to keep the pattern going. So not Scandinavian or anything like that. Eric, pass it on to Sam.
My name is Sam Creighton of the Fiveplex Bank. I'm with the Friends of the Longmont Museum, treasurer. And interesting thing about my name has its origins in Scotland as cryptid. In the United States, it became cryptid. Just like the university.
My name is Caitlin Keenan, and I'm on the advisory board. I'm a professor at Virginia Community College. And the story of my name is that my entire family on my mom's side is Irish. And Caitlin is an Irish name, and it gets Americanized to Caitlin, which is not my name. So that's a fun.
Hi, I'm Lee. I'm Museum Advisory Board, second year. My name was Robert Lee. Your last name is Lee. Your father will have a tremendous urge to name you Robert. And you will be forever in public school expected to know every aspect of the city.
My name is Linda. I'm a member of the advisory board. Linda is Linda. I don't know why they named me. My dad used to sing a song to me called When I Go to Sleep. The whole big song that I had.
I'm Tom Kurtz. I think I'm in my 5th year of the advisory board. Retired law school CEO. Thomas was my dad's name, so I guess that's why. That's the history of my first name. So I became a junior, half Russian, half Irish.
Hi, I'm Callie Cordova. I'm the chair of the advisory board. I also work as a library associate. And then my full name is actually Caledonia, and I'm named after the B.B. King song. I'll know if you know it if you ask me if I did that song.
I'm Bruce Katuna. I'm on the Museum Advisory Board, retired neurologist. And I don't talk about my names. I never really liked my first name very much, Bruce. Bruce because of the screws. But I do want to mention that my 93-year-old mother is in town visiting from California. And she makes shirts. She actually was an education. And she made this shirt. In fact, every shirt that I've worn to the Museum Advisory Board meetings has been one that my visiting mother has. And also, I will be leaving 10 minutes because we have dinner Friday. anything.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Buenas tardes. My name is, well, my name, Tequila, that's the pautas del bautizo, no. So my name is Ana Eugenia Cordero Cabrera. Kena goes the nickname of Eugenia, so everybody knows me as Kena. And I think I am a very good friend of the Longmont Museum.
It's true. That's our best friend.
No, you're all good friends. I'm Anne, academic curator of education. I am named after my mom's twin sister.
Sue Anderson on the Friends Board. I'm a retired nonprofit administrator, and I am Susan Elizabeth, named after my great grandmother,
I'm Brian Allard. I'm on the Friends Board, Longmont Museum Board, president. My name, Brian, my parents just decided to name me Brian because they had a friend named Brian Blanks, so nothing really that special there. Yeah, look forward to another discussion.
I'm Megan Peters, I'm the Fund Development Manager here at the museum, and my name is actually Megan, which is Gaelic, but when you are growing up, no one can pronounce that, so no one called me Megan, even my parents, so it has become Megan.
Hi everybody, I'm Becky Chavez. My name is Rebecca Delia Chavez. Rebecca is my maternal grandmother and one of my maternal grandmothers way back in the day. And then Delia is my grandma Betty's given name, but she hated Delia, so she went by Betty instead. I'm on the Friends Board.
I am Brandon Badillo. I'm on the Friends Board. I moved from Austin 6 years ago, and my last name comes from Juan Badillo, a general who came from Spain to fight in Alamo.
I'm Ken Jacobson. I'm Vice President of the Friends Board and voted Deputy of the Museum. My name is one syllable, as is my brother's, Greg. And my parents' dedication was they didn't want any shortening or nicknames, and that's how I got it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Blake Welch. I'm on the Friends Board. And my name Blake is my mother's maiden name. Welch is actually Irish. Welch is please read. Told me about this.
We've got two microphones, so I'm going to move one over there. I'm Justin Beecher. What's that? Oh, no, we have to. My name is Justin Beecher. I'm the Auditorium Events Manager. I curate public programs and oversee the museum's rental program. My first name, I'm named after an attorney. My dad's an attorney, and his first boss was Justin McCarthy. That. And my last name is from the French for cow.
Hi, my name is Jared Thompson. I'm the curator of exhibitions here at the museum. I've been here 21 years. Jared, growing up I was Jed. I was joining the Beverly Hillbillies, so it's not a great connotation for that. I did switch it back to Jared once I started my professional career. Last name Thompson. I'm Irish, not well, a little bit Irish, mostly Scottish and English. Thompson was a clan of border raiders that would go into Scotland and pillage, etc. That's long.
I'm Elizabeth Godwin. I'm the curator of history here at the Longmont Museum. And the last name Godwin is French Canadian. And the first part means beautiful, which is kind of nice. And my middle name is Marie. And I don't know, I've never verified this. There's a very common last name, but my grandfather, who was the history-loving person in the family, who used to say that in Canada, if you had to catch a baby, they just automatically gave the girl babies Marie and the boy babies Jean. I don't know how true that is, but it's something that's stuck in my brain.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. I learned a lot today about folks' stories of their names. So next up, our two board chairs are going to share a little bit about the role that each board plays as a board and kind of as it relates to the museum. I'll bring the microphone over for Callie.
So the advisory board is appointed by the city council. There are 9 positions that are staggered 3-year terms. And then our main role is to advise the city council on matters of the museum, both development and use. And then among that, one of the primary things we do is look at accessions and deaccessions that are presented to us for the museum.
So if you're not familiar with that term, accession means to bring something into the museum's collection. Deaccession is to take something out of the collection. The board is the official authority on both of those bringing in.
All right.
Just slide that switch over.
All right. Now can you hear me? Yeah. So, to bring the Longmont Museum, our 501c3, we are able to collect funds for the museum, don't necessarily have to go to the city council. Our role is a little bit changing. I don't know how much the advisory board is aware of that, or how things are kind of going to change over the next couple of years, but we have always had school money and a pretty good source of funds to help support the museum. And as I came on, I've been on the board for now 3 or 4 years, and in that time, things have changed. Obviously, the capital campaign expansion. That's a really neat opportunity for the city and also just the museum itself. So, I think that this is going to be a great meeting to kind of get a good idea of how we potentially continue to help the museum, help you, and figure out how we can work together. I think our mission has always been to be able to help the museum, but having open communication I think would be a very good opportunity for our two boards. I think we serve different roles, but it's still good to have some kind of connection along those lines. Maybe we can discuss on how we can continue to keep that communication channel open along those lines. So going back to kind of the changing dynamics, the Stewart Foundation has been a huge impact for the Friends, it's been a huge impact for the museum. My understanding is that they are now closing out that trust. It's in the process of no longer being kind of the source of income. And so that being said, the Friends have helped cover, get things going on the capital campaign. Made a large donation to make sure that we can go ahead and move forward, get permitting, get the project started, and start working. I understand that there's still money to be brought in, and we still need to make sure we're heads down that road. But that being said, I think the role of us are going to be more of a fundraising board, and it's not going to be having the capital that we once had. And so I think this is an opportunity now for us to be figuring out how that looks, how we will fundraise, who we're targeting, how we're targeting, and how is the board going to do that. So being in flex and having to kind of figure out how this is going to work, I think it's a good opportunity again for us to talk to you all and figure out how do have contacts as well, and have ideas that people are open to them. But yeah, that's kind of the general spiel. Anything else specifically, Eric, I know Eric and I emailed back and forth, but that kind of the general gist of.
Yeah, I think you covered very much. Friends has existed since at least the 1980s in one form or another. The advisory board since the museum became a part of the city in 1987. Both boards have a long history of support. And this really came up because I think there was a chance meeting of our two boards. And as I understand it, it was kind of each person saying, well, I'm on the board. Well, I'm on the board. Well, wait, what? So I think it's a great opportunity for two boards to kind of have a discussion about how they can work together, how they can support each other, and also, are there opportunities that you all see or connections that you all have made in this room that you just want to highlight? So I don't know that we have a real structure for this discussion, but if anyone does have kind of some thoughts about that.
To chime in, our last meeting we kind of did talk about some general ideas, getting the clothes and figure out. Potentially, one is to have some form of this kind of meeting, either annually, biannually, quarterly. What would work, and does that make sense? I think one of the things we've also talked about is we're a volunteer board, so not everyone's time. We don't want to be taking up too much people's time and things along those lines. We also don't want to waste people's time. So that potentially makes sense. The other thing that we floated is maybe a member of the advisory board, be a liaison in kind of our meetings as kind of pop over the board. Those are things that have floated. We have any other ideas that may be a way of continuing having this type of connection in the future as a board.
When do you guys meet?
That is one thing that is an issue. We meet every month. It's the third Thursday, is that right? It's the third Thursday of every month, and it's over an hour. It's back in the difficult, but a lot of people work. That's just the lunch hours. Yes, and lunch is provided, so that's all.
And I know from my perspective, I think one thing that both boards really share is being kind of ambassadors out in the community and just supporting the museum when you're talking to other folks in the community, letting them know that the museum is a great community asset, and whether that's talking to individuals or if any of you do know members of the city council. That's something that staff really can't approach city council directly, but the specific role of the advisory board, and also I think absolutely a key part of being on the Friends board is just having that awareness of who you're talking to and making sure that you're sharing what's going on in the museum. Trying to get more support for what the museum is doing.
So from the advisory standpoint, do you all get enough information about what firms are doing, about decision making, about what's going on there? Is there a role to be built there? I mean, or does this just not even make sense for us to be? Is
disconnect here? Is there a way that we can better support the advisory board, and vice versa? I think that ultimately is, we do have different roles, but do you guys feel like we're getting enough information about where things are at?
I think we could use more information. I think that we would all be interested in that, especially if the other board is in flux, like if what you're doing in the future looks like it's going to change. I think we would want to be apprised of that and be able to support you in whatever way we can as well. I don't know if we have a member who would be willing to go. I can look at if I can make it happen. I'd be happy to kind of do that, and then then I would have something to say on my monthly report from the chair that right now I don't say anything, so I would be able to fill that space more adequately. Because I do think that more communication between boards would be beneficial. I don't know.
We can have rotation. One of us goes to their meeting, and one of them comes to our meeting, and rotate people. So everybody wants to come with an idea of what each community is doing, and we share ideas.
Yeah, that's certainly a great way. Our meetings are not in any way, we don't go into closed session. We actually have to, or anything along those lines. We're very transparent and open with all going on. So, certainly, I think that is a change in the way that we've done things in the past, but now, we've always been here to support the museum. I want to make sure that continues, but again, always great to have someone to sit in. We've also discussed as things have gone, as we go into flux, and does it make sense to have meetings every single month, and maybe back from that, maybe every other month, depending on the needs of because there are months that use
I would say that I use my two tools for either way. So I know that we recently got a fascinating update from the city manager. So if you're following the news, you know that the state of Colorado is $1.2 billion in the hole for this upcoming fiscal year. And so there's no money for a lot of initiatives. And I got the impression from that conversation that there is a lot of recognition of the importance of the museum and the not only the cultural services provided, but just
one of the things that I've been doing for community outreach, I'm a member of the Neighborhood Group Leaders Association. If you're aware of that, we meet on the third Thursday of every month. And there's the community leaders from each of the neighborhoods attend, and it's a great day because you're talking to people across the city. Every neighborhood has somebody there. I've been pitching the museum the exhibits at every meeting. Come see Picasso. And it's that's why I worked about boards and commissions. That's why I'm here, is because I had that community experience that, there's opportunities in the city. And I think it's a great place for nonprofits, for volunteer opportunities to be heard. And it is true. You can put the Picasso thing on the bus that goes down the street. When you tell somebody, you need to see this, come here, then they start remembering. So the NGLA, I think, is a great venue for that, and I will continue to do that. But you might want to think about attending, or even maybe doing a presentation.
I also want to mention along lines of what you're expanding this grant, expanding other boards, looking our main application, what we do, how we support the community, how museums support the community, not just culturally and all that kind of stuff economically as well. But the other thing to be said, and that's one of the things that we're also going to be trying to, I think, some folks on the continuum is that I think we do have some untapped opportunities for fundraising. Again, we're still baby stepping, still learning all of this and figuring out how we're going to step into that role. But most of our donations, most of the stuff that we've done for the capital campaign have been individual donations. Now we're going into more corporate and sponsorship and those lines. But I think the business community is an untapped area, and I think that that's another area that we should be thinking about, at least from the friend's perspective, but I think as well as you guys have connections, so having ideas along those lines, that would be a good opportunity for both of us.
Along the lines of what you said earlier.
Along the lines of what you said earlier, we hear about events that you're going to be, that you're planning, and we try to attend, of course. But maybe there could be some, maybe we could help in some manner, not just show up and write a check or whatever, but I think participate in planning that might pull us closer together and we'll understand each other.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
We would love that. Please still show up and write checks out. But yes, I think to Brian's point, we're trying to figure out what the Friends role looks like in taking on a more frontline approach to fundraising. And one of the ways that Eric and I have, this is all news to you guys too, so here we go. But one of the ways that we've kind of talked about rolling that out is we do have the Sunset Parade, which is September 5th, save the date. And one of the ways that we are looking at improving that event is having more sponsorships and more tables sold. And I think that that is a really great entryway for these boards to work together and make that happen. Who are the people you know who all want to come together and buy tables? Who are the corporations that you know who want to come in and sponsor and sell tables? And if that is the way that the advisory board and the Friends board can work together for events specifically, that is certainly something that we can communicate about and make happen, because that's just not something that we always have the capacity to dedicate as much time as it deserves to. And so having the people in this room be on the boots on the ground for things like that would be an amazing support and help.
I just have a question for the advisory board members. Are there restrictions on the advisory board in terms of your role in respect to fundraising? Is it, since you're a public entity and you're subject to the laws therein? That's just a question that I'm wondering about.
Do you know what the line would be there?
I think the line would kind of be probably to fundraise as a board, but as individuals, you can raise money individually, but I think the advisory board saying please give money is probably crossing the line that the city would prefer not to cross, especially given the Friends serve that purpose.
So, but that would reach by two.
Right.
Yeah,
That's great.
Maybe, I don't know, if you were acting in your individual capacity and not as a board member, doing an ask, but get the
have a appropriation. I'm just asking as, as a community member, maybe I'm a little bit, but we can sort of share that information, keep that across, and keep that I think that, that's another point to be made, that I'm hopeful from this as well, is that, we have the friends board, we've got, common number of people are here, but, now we've got other faces, we've got other community members that we can also tap into that may have, connections with the neighborhood we were talking about, our page, things along those lines. So I think that any opportunity to expand that is certainly a great opportunity for us.
One thing for me that I would like to see for both boards is our succession planning and ensuring that diverse voices are present on the board and talking about what is coming to the museum, who are we fundraising to. Our donor base right now is very homogenous, and I'd like to see it not so I'd like to see. I'm here, Brandon's here, because if you almost said, hey, come to this board meeting, it's fun. Which is usually how I join boards. Either India or Carmen saying that to me, but I'd like to look at that succession planning with who's going to come after us on both sides to ensure that we have more diverse voices represented at the table.
And I think that is an amazing idea for the advisory board. Anyone who is a citizen of Longmont and has been for a year can apply. And so like ultimately it is the city council who decides, but I think us getting the word out to more people that they do qualify for this board, that being a citizen of Longmont is all that it takes, would be something that would be great to kind of have that partnership to reach into more diverse communities.
So now this is kind of the, I think we'll talk about you guys coming to our meetings. So please communicate where the meetings and start about you guys' meetings, and you guys can start showing up. Is that kind of the what we come to some action item or consensus here? And also what we're sharing, and vice versa. I mean, I'm obviously we're open to it. I don't know what they're all being brought up.
So yeah, ours is on the third Wednesday of the month at 4:30. But I think, yeah, if Eric's willing to kind of help us coordinate a way to like have a rotating schedule, that we would be very interested in that and something we can talk about more at our next board meeting.
Great.
I also like your idea of combining boards like this a couple times a year. I don't know exactly.
And maybe this is the jumping off point. Like I said, I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I think it would be nice to if we have this connection, we have it behind, if it makes sense, we can kind of make a decision on does it make sense to have it quarterly? If it does make sense, let's not do it. If it's biannually, annually, whatever. But I think this may be kind of what you guys are going to figure out whether that. That's just my, like I said, I've done a whole talking for most of the year, so anybody else has any other thoughts on these guys?
Well, like my mind kind of goes towards, talking about fundraising, I have no idea what that means, how much. So you talked about state shortfall money, so I don't know, that's still So the museum, day-to-day operations, how long is it running? What are the shortages? Do you have all the staff you need? Is it a matter of not sufficient fundraising or some of these exhibits at risk of not coming in? So what are kind of the touch points here that need to be addressed in fundraising with going out to the business community? What exactly are we asking for on only one time? That's kind of the range of funds that I have. And budgets, for instance, for the museum, I'm assuming with the city, these are set on an annual basis. Is there an ongoing commitment from the city to support the museum? I mean, are those funds all committed? I just spoke to them.
So there's obviously a lot to talk about budget-wise, and certainly more than we can probably cover in this one meeting. I do also want to acknowledge that our city council representative, Susie Hidalgo-Faring, has come in. So delighted that she's been able to join us. She attends advisory board meetings. As far as budget, I mean, obviously the city approves budgets on an annual basis. It has funded the museum since 1970, so we feel pretty good about ongoing support. I think where we're looking at the shortfall is more what we need to operate the expanded museum. So the additional positions, the additional funding that we need, which is probably at least 2 positions to start with, and ramping up over time from there. And then for example, the exhibits that we're looking at going into the larger feature gallery cost between $35,000 and $75,000 for a 3-month exhibit. So if we were to do completely rental exhibits, which is probably not a model we would want to do, but we'd be looking at several $100,000. But the nice thing about raising money for an exhibit like, say, if we were to needed to raise, we had the opportunity to raise money for Picasso, capital campaign at that time. But it's kind of a great thing to be able to say, we've got this amazing exhibit that we want to bring in, and your support is what we need to pay for that. We've funded the exhibits right after we've opened the first about 2 years. Those are covered, but beyond that, then that's really when we're going to be looking at how we can support rentals or bringing on more staff to build exhibits like the Lego exhibit that we had just last year. So those are kind of the needs. And it's hard to say the exact numbers right now off the top of my head, but definitely a couple of positions and some rental are probably the most critical ones, as well as we definitely see there's probably going to be a need for added marketing dollars because we really want to make sure the word gets out that we've got a great museum, and that's another area where essentially right now the city is not funding the museum's marketing. We're funding that through grants. So we're not anticipating that the city is going to be doing major increases in marketing. So that's another area we'd like to fundraise for at some point. It's a little harder when people aren't as excited about that as they are about an exhibit. But certainly opportunities.
So how far in advance do you have to commit to an exhibit? How long does it take? The cost?
Usually it's about 3 years that we are signing contracts with traveling exhibit companies. So we have just signed one for a kimono exhibit that will be in 2027 and early 2028. So that one's out a couple of years. We're working on the exhibit that will open the expansion. We're looking right now exhibit of photographs owned by Frida Kahlo, a lot of photographs of her and her family and things like that. That will be a great exhibit to open the expanded museum. And then, in between those, we'll probably have some, there's a quilt exhibit that's much more affordable, but there's a lot of people that really enjoy quilts and bring those in. So, we certainly try to be as good with our dollars as we can be, knowing, we can't always be bringing in Picasso. But our exhibit staff and Jared does an amazing job with developing exhibits in-house, working right now with a curator on a BIPOC futurism exhibit for 2027, 28. So, lots of opportunities, and ones that we develop in-house tend to be less of a rental cost and more of a staff and time resource cost. That's good.
Related to all the things you're asking about. I really have a question, but probably it's for you. Is whether or not City Council is reading the tea leaves, as it were, about seeing drastic things happening at the federal level, which are going to be trickling down to states, which trickle down to counties and cities. And what, in terms of sort of rearranging funds and potentially needing to cut things in the city budget based on not the federal dollars flowing directly to the museum, but indirectly to the city. What's your sense at this point about where things are going to head?
So we've been preparing this for a while, and even looking at what our federal grants is. We're looking. So my philosophy is we pay into these taxes, these grant opportunities were there, let's go get them. Okay, we went out and got them for our, the RISE grant for the 119 change, the moving towards Vision Zero, so all that tearing up on Kaufman, a lot of that was through federal dollar, and then poof, it's all taken away, poof. And so we've already, just as we anticipate, although there was a turnaround where, you committed to these dollars. I mean, I was over all of them, hot and heated. You committed to these dollars. You cannot renege this unless, you all want to come out and fix these roads yourself. So there has been a turnaround where we're working to get these funds back so we can ensure that these projects get completed. And it was a contract, and these were agreements that were done. However, in the future, now we're looking, we might not necessarily have this for the RSP, the flood mitigation. So, I think for us as council, we need to be cognizant that we are not adding other projects in the next bright, shiny thing. We need to make sure that we have these goals and objectives, we have these commitments to get these projects done that we've already committed to. So that's our priority. I also sit on the library advisory board, and I'm a bilingual teacher at UND, so I've been in the district for 31 years in the profession. And one of the things that I noticed and especially I think what's so special about Longmont is that we have our own city municipal museum. The state that I came from, we didn't have those opportunities. There's not a lot of cities, even in Colorado, that could have bragging rights if they have their own municipal museum. So, taking it from that perspective, and this is what I've shared with my council colleagues, is our opportunities for youth. So I'm looking for youth and building culture within the community and education. The library and the museum serve as one of those great equalizers for our youth, for people in poverty who don't necessarily have the opportunity to get out of Longmont. So we have these resources here. So what can we do as a council to really put our money where our mouth is in valuing these. I know as opportunities present themselves, I think recently we were able to pull $30,000 from our council contingency funds to support the library, these lockers, so they're drop-off lockers. And we're actually planning to put them over by Centennial Pool, so people can, so you think about going to check out a book, rather than having to come to the public library. And I really think it's next to Skyline, it's next to Timberline. We have a lot of seniors who also live in that area, that they can just walk over, pick up their book, return it, and drop. So as ideas present themselves, either for the museum, for recreation, for library, and even for housing and other things, as these little low-hanging fruit things present themselves, what could we do as council to help support some of the lower things that maybe give us more bang for our buck? We recently had a library, Friends of the Library and Library Board joint meeting as well. And I think just looking at how the Friends can support their respective group, it's one of the things that came up is that extra piece. So looking at extra exhibits, or bringing in an artist, bringing in an author, those are the things that the Friends of the Library, Friends of the Museum could support. While city, maybe we can help with some of the less glamorous stuff. I know that Harold's not that keen on, okay, is that where we want to really spend our dollars on marketing? It's not as glamorous. But, for us, okay, making sure that the lights stay on, making sure that we take care. When I got on council, 3 big things: our city hall, the public safety, and the library. Their foundations were it was like we had all these ideas. Oh, we're going to do this, and it's like, well, the public safety building is about to fall, or the parking garage in the city hall is about to kick in. So it was having to spend millions of dollars to take care of things that were neglected for decades. So, we've been planning this for a while. Long answer, long way around the answer is we're trying to find ways to prepare for those things that do come up. And now we've added that layer of, can we really depend on the federal government to give us these dollars, and how are we going to navigate around them? I would have really liked to see those bond measures pass, because that would have also freed up dollars to move forward in some of the other projects as well. So, long story short, we are trying to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Did that answer anything?
That's probably the best we could do. Is assume that there's going to be cuts coming.
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to trickle down to the municipal level.
Yeah, and it has.
Municipal city councils are going to have to figure that out, figure out the shell game of what gets funded.
What gets funded, yes.
What does that mean for the Friends boards, whether it's the library or whether it's the museum? What does that mean for us in terms of being a really fill gap?
Yeah.
That we haven't had to fill in the past. And I guess that's sort of the question that I think we can answer, because we don't really know how bad things are going to get. But I think that's something that we, as the Friends board, as the CP arm of this operation, need to be cognizant of.
Yeah.
We may be so passionate about having to past.
And also,
it would be nice to have that heads up when you guys know it, so that we.
Exactly. So I was just about to talk about communication. So having that cross communication with the city, with you all, with our advisory boards, but also too that narrative that we send out to the community that really emphasizes the importance of having these, and what a unique opportunity we have in Longmont to have our own museum, to have a functioning library, and really driving those points home to our community, so that in the event that we do have another ballot measure, that they see the value in this and move forward. I mean, we're able to do it with open space. we're necessarily able to do it with our rec center, library expansion, and performing arts center, but how do we get that narrative out?
I think this has been a great discussion. I really appreciate what everyone has said. Want to make sure, does anyone have any other thoughts on the boards working together on kind of
Do you guys have agendas, you know, and are they written? Do you have monthly after your meeting? Is there any way we can exchange? You can look at ours, we can look at yours, you know, get an idea of what you covered for that particular time period and what you're moving towards, because then we can see if we can make suggestions as we come into the meetings.
Yeah, we can certainly share our agendas and things like that. Becky does a great job of giving us some minutes, each time, so we do have all the discussion that goes on. And then along those lines, I think that we kind of started this, roles kind of changing. We don't have a pile of money getting into our discussions, our agendas. Frankly, I put together agenda after I prepare. Typically, before our meeting, but you know, it's going to be a lot. So we're still kind of figuring out. We don't want to waste every time. We don't want to just approve something or something along those lines, a payment of some sort. We really want to be able to have deep discussions on things that we can be helpful. And again, maybe the sunset story. That's a big thing. That comes in. That's a big. There is a lot of discussion. There is a lot of things we do. But yeah, we're going to be in class, so it's going to change. But we do have a chip that we can share them. And as well, and if you guys have vice versa.
We've got a couple more things on the agenda for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next item, which is our one official vote by each board. Everyone should have in front of you a copy of the draft Code of Ethics. I think I've shared this with both boards, but in case anybody doesn't know, the American Alliance of Museums, which is the professional body for museums in the United States, has a process called accreditation. It's something that I would like to see the Longmont Museum work toward. And one of the first steps, they basically say, before you can even think about that, you need to have 5 documents in place. A mission statement, a strategic plan, a collections policy, a code of ethics, and an emergency preparedness plan. So this is kind of giving us that next step toward on to accreditation. The Art and Public Places Commission voted at their meeting last week to adopt this code of ethics. So one of the 3 boards that is involved in the museum has already adopted it, but it's an opportunity to kind of take that step and commit ourselves to acting ethically at all times, kind of going above and beyond just following the rule of law, making sure that we are being ethical, being right in what we're doing. So happy to answer any questions on the Code of Ethics. It was drafted by myself and a team of staff members based on the codes of ethics from the Museum Association in the Kingdom, American Alliance of Museums, and individual museums across the country.
This hasn't changed significantly since we saw this board a while ago.
The only changes were a couple of grammatical corrections.
Is it approved by the city attorney or the DEP?
Well, that was our first step, was going to the city attorney, and so yes, he has approved the code of ethics, and so we're good. Good question.
For the museum, do we ever do accessions where we would accession something not because we really think we would keep it in our collection, but because we would want to sell it? I know that is something that some museums do, I find to be ethical. I felt like from some of the language here, the priority of moving things into other nonprofits first versus the state of Colorado and wider. But that's something I haven't experienced yet on the board. But is that something that museum would do or that would fall under the code?
That's a great question. I would say I think there's a little difference between, so museums sometimes are gifted artwork, and maybe some of it does not fit within their collecting mission, and so they would not accession it. They wouldn't put it into the collection, but they would be very transparent to the donor that, you know, this isn't something we could accept. Is it okay for us to, you know, use this essentially as fundraising? I think what this code of ethics would tell us is we would only ever do that absolutely transparently through, you know, communication with the donor. I think we would not accession something only to turn right around into accession. That might be, you know, in 20 years, something that we've acquired now, we feel like, oh, this no longer really fits our mission, and we deaccession. And there have been a handful of things that we couldn't find another museum to take. And so at that point, we have sold those at auction, which is kind of our standard practice through the city. Do you have any thoughts on deaccessioning and ethical deaccessioning?
The only thing that I can think of that would be like almost a fairly quick turnaround is if we got something and got a better version of it. So I don't know how many people saw the Denver Post article about the map. Like, I don't want an accession, a dirty, torn, faded map if there's a better one out there. Unfortunately, no one has that exact map in yet, but I've gotten two other ones. And I think like a big part that I take away with this is that, you know, there's no kind of wheeling and dealing within our own either staff or this group or other members of the city and stuff in terms of like sales and all of that. So, that's very emotional.
I think since each board essentially is a separate entity, it would be appropriate for each board to vote individually on the code of ethics. And that's back to Callie. Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the Longmont Advisory Board that would like to make a motion to accept the museum code of ethics? Alan, second. Bob, all in favor? And do you still have a quorum here? This is, yeah.
Five is four.
Five is quorum. We did it.
All right, print board. Do I have a motion for the code of ethics? Sue, second. All right, all in favor?
Well, I will give a quick update on museum expansion. We had a big milestone on Monday. We went out to bid for construction of museum expansion. So we will have contractors coming in March 5th to do a pre-bid walkthrough, and we'll know how many contractors. We've had 8 that we pre-qualified who are still in the running. We had originally 9, one decided to drop out, but we're really excited. 8 contractors who give us some good competition between the contractors, and then March 26th is when we'll get the bids back, and we will see, hopefully our cost estimator is on target, and we will be able to then sign a contract. We believe that we're basically kind of working in parallel right now. We're going out to bid so that we can begin to order some of the longer lead materials. We're also still working through the city design review committee process, and they've told us that they expect, that we should expect to finish up that process probably in early June. So we're planning on hopefully being able to start construction by mid-June, assuming we get the bids come back at a good level and we don't run into any more unexpected hiccups with the design review. So, we're pretty excited. It's been a long time coming to get to this point. And, starting to feel real that we're actually going to be building these expansions. Any questions on the expansion? All right, so last thing then, I've already touched on this earlier, Museum 2026 budget needs. So the city's budget process will be starting pretty soon. And we anticipate our major request to the city will be additional staff in the exhibits department. And one thing that I do want to mention that hopefully will get us quite a ways down the road is we are able to use funds generated here at the museum to pay for staff positions. And so what we are anticipating right now is that when we open the expanded museum, we will be seeing larger numbers in visitation. And also it's been quite a few years since we have raised our admission prices. They're really now, I think, a little below the level that we're seeing in a lot of other museums in the area. So opening a museum is kind of a great opportunity to increase that. And so we're still working through the numbers, but we're hoping to be able to present to the city, this is our projection of revenue that we think we can generate with the expanded museum. And then, can we bring that money over to add to our, to allow us to add staff positions. So even though the city as a whole may not have much extra funds to put forward it, just the ability to raise more revenue will allow us to do that within the museum itself. And then as I mentioned earlier, some of the other requests that we'll probably be bringing forward are additional funding for exhibit rentals and additional funding for marketing. Because, it's great to say we're going to get more folks into the museum, but without the marketing dollars to do that, it's really hard to do. I think there's studies that show that for every dollar you spend in marketing, you tend to get 2 or 3 back in actual people coming into town and spending money, not just here at the museum, but going to restaurants and going shopping, staying overnight in the hotel. So we really feel like it's money well spent to market the museum's exhibits, outside of Longmont. Any questions on anything we've talked about tonight? If not, I will turn it over to Jared to talk a little bit about the property.
So, as Eric mentioned, we are expanding the building. We are in the process of developing a permanent children's exhibition, so we have built some prototypes for that. If you guys would like to check them out, we do have them upstairs in our office area. They are kind of rough. Don't take them too literally. It's just proof of concept, a lot of these. You don't want to put too much effort into them, or then you have a hard time changing them. You don't want to be emotionally attached. So yeah, I can take you through the exhibit, kind of show you what we're thinking thematically, and just show you some of the examples and stuff we're working on. And it's gonna open, we're shooting for fall 2026. That's what we're looking at.
And I guess actually each board probably needs to vote to adjourn, just to kind of clean up the whole process, since it would be an official motion.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? And then second, all in favor? Unanimous.
I want to thank you guys just quickly for attending. Very productive, and hopefully we'll continue to keep conversations before we adjourn today. I want to just thank you all for having me tonight. Very beneficial.
Definitely.
And we typically, does anybody else have anything for good order? Good motion to adjourn. Becky, second, Ken, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you all.